In our previous discussion, we were looking at the various factors that affect West African ethics. We discussed sex, marriage, and family life from the different perspectives of African contexts. And before we left, I was raising some questions as to what is the Christian position on some of these factors that we have discussed. The first thing that I want you to understand is that sexuality is a very important feature of our created nature. It plays a basic role in human drama of morality. All our vulnerability and our complexity lies in our sexuality. So once an individual or the society is confused about right or wrong use of sex, that individual or society cannot be healthy. For a casual attitude towards sexual fidelity shows mark of irresponsibility and not being trustworthy. Therefore, a very good sex ethics value determine the health of the society or individual. So once the individual has an unhealthy understanding of sexuality, it affects him economically, physically, spiritually, politically, culturally. Therefore, it is very important that as an individual, one should have a very healthy attitude toward sex. Why do we say that one is affected when he has a very unhealthy sex attitude? Number one, you find that he is being affected in quite diverse way. Emotionally, physically, economically, politically, socially, and culturally. Culturally, the person does not have a good culture. The culture is very poor when you have an unhealthy sex ethics, where it gives you the kind of signal that you use your sexual desire anyhow, anywhere. It's a very wrong culture. Physically, those that engage in promiscuity, in most cases you find that they have health challenges. A lot of people are sick today because of their unhealthy sex ethics. Economically, when you have a very unhealthy sex ethics, even your resources also can be wasted in pursuing those sexual desires or sexual desires. So it is very important as a child of God and also as a African Christian to ensure that we have a very healthy sex ethics. That way it will help us a lot. As I've said before, some of the factors that we're experiencing in our country today are due to the fact that people have a very poor sexual ethics. Now, the question we raised was, what does the Bible say about some of this sexual orientation that we discussed before? One thing is very clear, the Bible is heterosexual. The Bible does not encourage homosexuality, gay, or sodomy. The Bible outrightly condemns it. Therefore, the Bible is opposed to homosexuality. The Bible is also opposed to promiscuity. It believes that the sexual bed must remain pure, because it believes that one should be pure before marriage and after marriage should stick strictly to his partner. So for us to say that you have a culture where a woman or a man will jump from one bed to another is not biblical, because the Bible condemns it. All form of sexual infidelity is totally condemned by the Bible. And the Bible is talking about purity. Purity is very, very important. Sometimes we feel that purity should be an issue of a young lady or a woman alone. But the Bible talks about purity in a context, in a holistic context. Men, women, young men, and all men and women, all of them, the Bible wants us to remain pure. So sexual promiscuity is completely condemned. Sometimes we talk about sexual freedom. Actually, there is nothing like sexual freedom. Sexual freedom is rather sexual anarchy or exploitation of the person or abuse of a person. Because the person is made in the image and likeness of God. There should be dignity the way the person is being treated. So if a girl or a boy engage in wanton sex behavior, actually he or she is actually abusing himself or exploiting himself or herself. The Bible made it very clear that sex should only take place in marriage. We have it in Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, Matthew 19, verse 5, Leviticus 18. The Bible made it very clear that a man must leave his father and mother and be cleaved to his wife, and the two of them shall become one flesh. And that one flesh involves sexual relationship. Sexual intercourse before marriage, that is fornication, is completely forbidden in the Bible. We have 1 Corinthians chapter 6, 12 to 20. There must be a living and a cleaving before any sex relationship as far as the Bible is concerned. The Bible also frowns against extramarital sex or adultery. It is completely forbidden. The seventh commandment ruled it out completely. Exodus chapter 20, verse 14, Matthew 19, 3 to 10. So as I've said, virginity is a virtue that must be pursued, not only by the female. God demands that all of us must remain pure. Hebrew chapter 13, verse 4. The marriage bed must not be defiled. Another issue that has not been dealt with is the issue of masturbation. Stimulation of one's own sexual organ is not specifically mentioned in the scripture, but one who engages in any kind of it can get addicted. These are things that hold us back in our Christian race. Genesis 38, verse 9. The Bible strongly condemns homosexuality and lesbianism. Genesis chapter 19, verse 1 to 11, Leviticus 18, verse 22, also Leviticus 20, verse 13, Romans 1, verse 24 to 27, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9 to 20. These are passages that the Bible condemns homosexuality or gay marriage or sodomy, whatever you call it. Bestiality too is condemned by the Bible. The Word of God says in Leviticus chapter 9, verse 20, verse 23 to 25 and also 27, that a man or a woman must not sleep with an animal. The Bible condemns it. Wrong use of sex affects the individual, society, politically, economically, spiritually, culturally, intellectually. Well, let me concentrate on intellectual aspect. You can see that today a lot of things are happening in our higher institution, where young girls sell their body for grades. Young men also sell their body for material gains. These are things that affect us. Once we have an unhealthy sex ethics, we think we can use it as a means, then it becomes a problem. We have social classification in Africa. These are various social classification in Africa that we have. We have caste, we have class, we have racial, we have tribal or ethnic classification. These classifications are either political, economical, social, or motivated by some other psychological needs. Marriage is a social classification which is motivated by emotion and physical needs, because a man wants expression and also a woman wants expression. So these are emotional and physical needs of man. And these particular emotional and physical needs was something that God himself noticed. And he said that the man is alone, he must make him a suitable partner. So these are something that is ordained by God. It's an institution that God invented, not man invented. There are many types of marriages in Africa. We have arranged marriage, where the family will arrange between the two young people to get married to one another. We have child betrothal. This one happens especially when you give birth to a young girl. The man will come and say, this young lady will become my son's wife. Marriage by purchase, the paying of bride price or dowry. That one happens also in Africa. Marriage by exchange is where the young ladies are exchanged. The one who wants to marry in a family can give his own sister in return for another girl in another family. Then we have marriage by elopement. This is done where parents object to the marriage or the high price. The bride price is very high, or sometimes some reasons somehow, and the young people will just elope. Then we have marriage by capture. These are practices that are very common in West Africa, where the young lady is in demand and there are competition. One of the suitors will capture the young lady and, marry her. We have leverage marriage. This kind of marriage happens when a man dies, his brother inherited his own wife. Then we have trial marriage. This culture believes that people must make sure that they are compatible before they can go into legal marriage properly. So they practice what they call trial marriage. And then we have polygyny or polygamy. These are cases where a man marries more than one wife, or a woman marries more than one man. Polygyny is where a woman marries more than one man, and polygamy is where a man marries more than one wife. Monogamy is a marriage of one man, one wife. This one is still practiced in Africa, but mostly it's not so. Many people prefer to go for polygamy. Then we have endogamy or hypergamy. It's a caste marriage. This kind of marriage is marriage arranged between class of people. So then we have concubinage. The concubinage marriage is a kind of marriage that you find that the man may enjoy sexual relationship with a woman, but the children have no inheritance rights from their father. The children belong to the woman, except if the man chooses to accept the children as his own children. Sex in marriage is one of the most important factors in African society. Most African society frown at sex before marriage. Therefore, lawful sex is only within marriage, both before and within marriage. most African society do not allow sex between close kin, except in caste structure, like in Indian, Fulani, and Hausa people. They practice close kin's marriage. Marriage institution is very important in African society. It's a union between a man and a woman, and between a man and maybe his own clan or his own community. Find that marriage in Africa involves interpersonal and intercommunity relationship. Interpersonal in the sense that there is a relationship between the man and the woman, between the man's family and the woman's family, so between the community and another community. So sometimes marriage are also contacted for political reasons, where you find that chiefs sometimes marry their daughters to some community so that they will help them in times of crisis. Marriage in Africa, you find that the man has the responsibility to make provision for his wife, provide for the needs of the wife and the children. He has the responsibility to protect his family. But he also has sexual right over the woman. The woman is a property that belongs to the man, and so the man owns the woman. So marriage in Africa were never based on physical appearance. In fact, what was more important as far as marriage in Africa was concerned is the moral attributes of the young girl or moral attribute of the young man, whether they are good people, whether they can take care of their wives, whether they can provide for their family, is the man hardworking. Those were the quality that were sought in a suitor. The same thing, they will ask whether this young lady is fertile, whether she's good, whether she can accommodate people in the family. Those were the most important feature or thing in marriage. Unlike what we have today, a lot of people go into marriage because they are looking at the wealth, they are looking at the structure of the young man and all this. But in Africa, even though those things were also important, but it was not the number one thing in their list. Mostly they look at the moral attribute of the young girl and the young man. If the family has a bad history, nobody would like to marry his son or daughter into that family. Nobody wants to go into a relationship with a family that are, bad. Mostly they want a family that has good reputation, family that are hardworking, family that can care for their own families very well, family that have a very good standing in the society. Those were the most important thing in marriage in Africa. For a marriage to be legal in Africa, mostly you have to follow certain traditional later, depending on the community that one's come from. You have to follow this tradition. Without following the tradition and paying the bride price, there is no legal marriage. Even when you marry a girl without paying the bride price, as far as that such marriage is concerned, you have no legal right over her as a wife. And the children you might get during your relationship together may not be your own, because eventually what gives you right over the woman is the bride price. And what gives you right over her productivity is also the bride price. So it is very important that if you want your marriage to be recognized as marriage, it is very important that the bride price were paid. Children are very important in marriage in Africa. If there are no children in the marriage, you find that that particular relationship may not stand. Even though the wife may not be divorced, if she's a good woman, she may not be divorced. But the man will have to marry another woman because he has to maintain his own lineage. He can't stay without the continuity of his own lineage. So he has to get married to another woman so that he can raise a lineage for himself. Marriage system in Africa is either unilineal or patriarchal or matrilineal. A patriarchal marriage is where the family of the man have legal right over the children and everything that is in that house. Decision on who to marry, decision on where the children have to go to school, decision on issues that affect the children, or when there are crises in the family that need to be settled, it is the family of the man that will come and sit down to decide the issue. In matrilineal marriage, it is the family of the woman that has a right over the children. They are the one to decide who the children will marry, what school the children will go. All these issues that affect the welfare of the children is the relative of the woman that will decide it, especially the uncle from the woman's side. They are the one to decide it. So in Africa, we have two basic types of marital system. That is the patriarchal system and the matrilineal system. In most cases, if it is a matrilineal system, the family stays with the father, the family of the husband. If it is a matrilineal setup, the family stays with the family of the young lady. In matrilineal setup, you find that the young man can still be a fatherhead in the home. He can provide for his own family, but actually inheritance of property in that family belongs to his own sister's children, not his own children. So it is very, very important that when people are getting in marriage, they should be able to understand the cultural setup of that community, so that they will not go into what we call cultural shock. So now we come to what we call, there are many family setup. We have the nuclear family setup, we have the compound family setup, and then we have the extended family setup. The nuclear family setup is where the man and his family stay. He, children, they stay together. We call it a nuclear family. But the compound family is a case whereby a man has more than 3 wives, or more than one wife, and each of them have their own children and they stay together. We call it a compound family. He may have 3 wives or 4 wives or 10 wives or 20 wives. All of them, we call them a compound family. The next one is what we have, extended family relationship. Usually in Africa in those days, it was very, very common. You find that the father will marry and live together with his own children. All of them will build their houses around the father, and they will be cooking together, sharing things together, everything. Their children grow up together. So the father is the complete authority in that particular setup. Every decision has to be vetoed by him. Everything has to be decided by him. He is the final say in that particular setup. And after these young people married, their own children will marry and also settle around them. That's why you find that in those days, you have a very big compound. because of this kind of extended family relation. Extended family relation is very healthy because it helps a lot. In fact, when you practice extended family relation, it gives a sense of security and belonging to the descent member, both in life, death, and separation. What do we mean by that? If in the practice of extended family relation, you always have somebody that is your own, that belongs to you, who can defend you, who can stand for you, who can support you. Now, if there is an issue that affects you in life, these relatives are the ones that will take care of you and they will be with you. When there is issue of death, maybe the wife of a man dies, it's one of his relatives that will also take the children and care for them. The same thing, if there is something like divorce in that family, the children of that particular family will be taken care of by a member of that particular family. That's why we say it gives sense of security and belonging to the descent member, both in life, death, and separation of couple. It helps in maintaining social control, especially if you have an issue like conflict in particular community or family. The person that will finally come to decide on the issue are a member of that particular clan. Supposing you have a person that gives a lot of problem to the community, they try all means to see that this problem is solved, but it's not solved. Then they will report the matter to the clan. The clan will take their final decision on this issue. I remember a story of one of my nephews. He was very stubborn, very stubborn. One day, the people are so tired of talking about the young man. So the uncles decided that they are going to teach this young man a lesson. So they prepare cactus on a rock, and then this a platform of rock that is they keep it there, and they say, go to so place and get this thing and bring it for us. The young man gladly went. He didn't even know that they were planning some sort of discipline for him. When he came, they tied him on the cactus and they beat him well. From that day on, the young man has to sober down, because anything that the community cannot deal with, usually it is the clan that will decide on it finally. Once the person is unable to listen to what the clan he says, then that person has a very special problem. And so that's why we say that extended family relation helps in social control. And those are some of the issues. It helps in social cooperation and responsibility, according to Eugene Nader. We remember in Africa, everything is done as a group. If you are building a house, they will come as a group to help you. If you are eating, you do it together with them. If you are naming your child, people will always come to support you in one way or the other. If you are getting married, the same thing. When you lost someone in your family, this same set of people will be there to support you. And usually they make their own contribution in various ways. Some have a fixed amount they normally collect towards such activities. So you find that you cannot stand alone and struggle alone once you have such issues in your life. There will always be some people who will come and support you. And then Daniel Bitrus in his book, Extended Family Life, an African Perspective, says, extended family relations have many advantages. He says it helps the descent members to assume responsibility for one another. This gives the sense of security and belonging to the descent member. As I've said, when you are planning marriage, they will help you. When you are planning naming ceremony, they will help you. When you lost someone, they will help you. That is and when you come from a very poor background and you have an able member from among the people, they will help to sponsor you either into a trade or to school. A lot of people have enjoyed that. So extended family relation is help in assuming responsibility for another. It strengthens family ties and relationship. When you constantly work together, you come to know one another, you come to understand that this is part of me, this is a member of my own family, and you maintain a bond between you. It cares for the disabled and unfortunate and also the aged people. Africa, you hardly see, especially those of us that come from the Christian background, you hardly see the disabled of our own going to the street begging. We keep them at home and we provide for them. The aged people, we don't put them in home for the aged. Rather, we take care of them and help them. So those are some of the things that extended family relationship help. It helps in foster sense of community living. It supports the nuclear family in the terms of naming ceremony, marriage preparation, household help, cultivation of farms, and sponsoring of poor and the less privileged in the society. Extended family relation also has its own disadvantages. It put pressure on the privileged descent member, where he is expected to meet the needs of all members of his kin who are in difficulty by ensuring that he meets all their needs to the detriment of his own immediate family. Assuming you have a sister that struggles to make sure that she sponsors you to the term where you get your either doctorate degree or whatever, and you are in a position, you find that most of the time the sister will come and say, brother, I have this one. My children are not going to school. I need this, I need this. Because of the sense of what sacrifice she has made for you, you always want to please her at the detriment of your own immediate family. And so the resources that he has may not go around, because it's not only that sister that will come to be begging for help. You have other uncles, you have other nieces, you have other nephews, you have other aunties who will come to beg for support. So it makes it so difficult for the privileged person. And it prevents one from pursuing one's ambition and occupational goal. When you spend a lot of energy and resources in taking care of the extended family, even if you have vision of attaining something in life, you cannot be able to do it because of the limitation of resources to do so. The resources you have, you spend it sharing it among people, so it prevents you from pursuing your ambition and occupational goals. Decision is hierarchical, slow, and time-consuming. Remember, if you are living in a one compound with maybe 100 people in that compound, and you have the head of the family who is the baba in that particular, no decision will be taken without his approval. So before you arrive at a point of decision, it becomes very, very difficult for you to make that decision. Why? Because you find that it has to pass through a lot of stages before it goes down again back to you. So decision making is hierarchical, slow, and time consuming. It makes no provision for individual initiative, innovation, and achievement. No wonder you find that Africa, we say that everything is ours. So there is no room for individualism. Even if you want to pursue something that you know that will help you in life, you have to consider whether it will go down well with the entire community or family. Daniel Beatrice, on his part, says that extended family relations has its own disadvantages. He says it encourages laziness. because the the situation is exploited for selfish reason. We have some young people who have uncles all over the place. They wouldn't want to work. They will be relying on these uncles to do so many things for them. They will go from one house to another, presenting one case of problem to another. Maybe he has 5 uncles that are working. You go through their household, and each of them maybe will contribute something, and the cycle continue. And the young man never cares to think, let me start doing something for myself. But he will always remember that he has uncles to support him, and so he becomes lazy. So those are some of the examples of disadvantage of extended family relation. It makes people lazy. It breeds conflict, rivalry, and jealousy within the family, either because of communication gap or because of greed. Especially when it comes to an issue where the distant member has to meet the needs of the other members. Sometimes greed will make them to want to, get more and more and more, at the detriment of his own family. This can cause a lot of conflict, especially if a wife grows up seeing her own children not being taken care of. She will definitely become annoyed, and it will bring a lot of rivalry and jealousy and also conflict in the family. There will be inequality in sharing of responsibility. That is another disadvantage of extended family relation, because the responsibility is being carried by one person. So extended family relation has its own disadvantage. We have spent some time looking at it, and we know that extended family relation has a biblical support for it. Look at Abraham and Lot. They practiced extended family relation. When he was moving out of Ur, he went out with Lot, and so they practiced extended family relation. Look at the story of Joseph in Egypt. When he became prosperous, he invited all his family members back to Egypt, and he catered for them. So extended family relationship has biblical support. In fact, the Bible says that we are our brother's keeper, so we have to care for one another. But then you find that this particular practice has a lot of problems, and it has a lot of disadvantage. How do we help in overcoming some of this advantage and still maintain the practice of extended family relation? So what should we do with the extended family relationship? Should we abolish it? If not, how do we make it workable in our society today? Those are issues that I would like you to sit down and discuss and give me your feedback in one page. How should we make extended family relationship workable in the 21st century? How should we make extended family relation workable in the society today? It is very, very important for us to take note of that. I would like to state here very clearly that some of the rest of the note you will have to read for yourself, because this is the last time I will have a lecture with you on some of these things. So read the rest of the notes about social classification. I've talked about marriage as one of the social classification, but you have to look at some other aspect there, which you read for your own. But make sure you submit again, you brainstorm and tell me how we can make extended family relation workable in the 21st century. And don't forget also the assignment that I've given you to brainstorm on various sex ethics within your own community, and you send it in 1 or 2 pages. Just make sure you do it this Friday. This one can come the upper Friday. Please make sure you do it. Have a blessed time. And once more, I'm really sorry for this morning. The network was very poor. So I'm just doing this one so that I can also put it for you. Have a blessed day. And don't forget your assignment, the major assessment assignment. Work on it very well. May the Lord bless you. Thank you.